Okay, I didn't know I need to bring up my calculator to ask these questions.
Welcome back to the Zero State Podcast. My name is Molly Mustonen, and I'm asking plain English questions about cybersecurity, code, and all things tech. Today, I'm joined by Mitchell Dokken, lead developer at WipeOS, as he breaks down the recent AI-led cyber attack on Anthropic and shares his take on AI-generated code. How is AI changing the game for hackers and coders alike? And should we be excited or slightly terrified?
That's entry-level knowledge, like cybersecurity 101. What ports are open on this machine? And then what services are running those ports? It's just alien stuff. It's just like, we don't do that here. We don't cut like PLA plastic on our table saw because we don't have filters for that. Like, what are you doing bringing that into my wood shop?
All right, back to the basics. Learn your code, people. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about driving and the safe distance behind the car. Okay. And you mentioned your theory, velocity times 3.
Oh, it's not a theory. Okay. It's 1/2 mv squared. It's just physics.
Okay, so explain what it is, the physics behind it, and I just think like the world needs to know.
Well, the world does. It's just that people who are mad in traffic trying to drive in the left lane don't remember their high school or middle school physics, right? Because the force is 1/2 your mass times velocity squared. So the difference between 20 and 30 miles an hour isn't, half, right? Mm-hmm. And the difference between 50 and 70 miles an hour is ridiculous. It doesn't matter if you're in a smart car or truck. It only matters half as much, right?
Okay, so what's the formula?
Force equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared.
Okay. Oh, it's velocity squared?
Yeah, it's velocity. Okay. That's the key piece, is that your speed is what will hurt you. And
okay, so if you're going 60 miles an hour.
Okay, I didn't know I need to bring up my calculator to ask these questions.
We're going to call it that, the velocity squared theory, which is...
Oh, it's not a theory.
I mean, sorry, I used the wrong thing.
I mean, what people think is straight line. More speed, straight line. What actually happened? That happened.
A curve happens.
Yeah, it's exponential because you're squaring something.
So it's just the formula, velocity squared.
Well, yeah, it's just between a linear and an exponential equation. It's nothing special. And then that your mass doesn't matter as much. Of course, a semi versus a smart car, there's a big differential of mass. So a semi going 5 will probably crush a smart car going 40. Mm-hmm. But this is just, I don't know how to explain it. Like the velocity squared is what matters, right?
Yes.
And if you're a cyclist, you know that the wind drag is a cubic function, which sucks.
Sure.
Well, you ever bike into a headwind?
Yeah.
And why does it suck so much when the wind is only 10 miles an hour and you're going 10 miles an hour? It's because it's cubed. It's not just squared, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that's just something that you have to live and experience. And then you go look up the equation on Wikipedia and you're like, oh, okay, that is why that happens. The same with the cars and the velocity. And then you didn't even touch on the actually good part, which is like going 70 over 60 doesn't get you there 10 minutes faster.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing, right?
Well, that's like the thing that people actually need to internalize, right? Passing somebody on the highway and they're going 65 and you're going 70 and you're mad about that? Unless you're going like 700 miles, you're not going to perceive a difference. One stoplight will ruin your 20 minutes of driving at 70 miles an hour when you could have been going 65. And the amount of risk that you're taking for doing the extra 5 miles an hour and the amount of wear you're doing on your engine, assuming you have an internal combustion engine, they're supposed to be run they have a peak efficiency. Mm-hmm. And when you're going that fast, no. Even my Subaru has a CVT and it doesn't lay within its peak efficiency when I'm going over 65. Like it's just silly on all accounts. And just like looking at the numbers, let alone like I don't know. The only way it makes sense is if you're letting your emotions drive your vehicle, which is how accidents happen.
I see. Now we're going to move on to your thoughts on the Anthropic cybersecurity hack that happened in November. Okay, so according to Anthropic's report, hackers used Anthropic's own Claude AI, and specifically the Claude code, which I don't know if that makes any difference, but this is part of my thing, to conduct reconnaissance, find vulnerabilities, harvest credentials from roughly 30 global organizations in tech, finance, and government. Okay? 80 to 90% of this work was done by AI working as an autonomous agent, they say, with humans stepping in for only 4 to 6 high-level decisions per campaign. In plain words, what's your take on this attack? Like, what actually happened? How much did the humans actually play in the whole thing? And is it something that we have to be worried about?
Okay, well, my recollection of reading the Wired article or whatever was on Hacker News, or whatever the heck I clicked on way back in the day, my interpretation of events is that a script kiddie learned a little bit of the surface level language to allow them to hire a bunch of AI token time and have them do things, right? I think that at the time they just allowed like agents to basically get full access to all the utilities on your computer. Now, since I'm a Linux guy, I'm just like, well, that's a huge security problem just on its own, right? To give it full access, God forbid you give it root access. I have no idea if the perp was on Windows or Mac. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter, right? But script kiddies back in the day would just have enough knowledge to download and fire off a little script that somebody else wrote. Now I see this as no different, right? If you 6 or 7 high-level decisions, that's basically
4 to 6, but same.
Oh, 4 to 6. Like, there's nothing, like, what are you telling it to do? Okay, and even before any of this, the fact that a script kiddie was able to just get into all of those networks, and the more software there is in the world, there's this concept called surface area, or like attack surface area, where if you just have a server and it's listening on a port, and that's all it is, like, you have to go through that port, right? If you're hosting other services for some reason, or you're doing different kind of things with your backend, there's just more surface area to exploit, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't really remember what they were targeting or what, but if the company's big enough with enough different teams, they're going to have different undocumented publicly, like on an API, but they'll be there. You can find that with port scanning, like Nmap, which was made famous in the Matrix because it got used there, right? And at the time, it was like kind of a newish open source utility, and now like every machine has it, and that's entry-level knowledge, like cybersecurity 101. What ports are open on this machine? And then what services are running those ports?
Okay.
That's it, right? And a script kiddie would maybe know, maybe. But it would a person with no real knowledge of that would know what a port is, hopefully. Now, I don't know what the heck they're teaching them now, but you could probably Google it or get another AI to tell you that there are a thing as ports, and that they may be open or closed. Like, I don't know. I'm not a user of this technology because I see it as just like a fancy Markov machine that generates more work to read and understand than it is to just write the thing in the first place. Anyways.
Okay, but let's take it back. What is a script kiddie?
It's just a guy who can't necessarily write code, but can find code and run it.
Okay.
And normally it's not even, they're scripts. They're like bash scripts. It's just, scripting languages and programming languages and how high and low level, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. In this context, a script kiddie is someone who doesn't necessarily know how to write, but they can execute. And not just a permissions level thing. Like, that's the skill cap. That's their level of skill. Is that they can say / do the thing, enter, execute the thing.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe they can open the file and edit like a host name. Like google.com, like use something else. But they don't really know all the rest of the stuff in there is just gibberish to them, right? So there's it's just as surface level as possible. And normally the scripts are just annoying, or they're known exploits that have been patched a year ago and blah, blah, blah. I guess the main difference here is that if these AI agents have access to your computer's Google and can find out newer exploits than when the AI was baked or grown in the lab or whatever they're calling it nowadays when they release a model. That might be new to look up the new CVE or the vulnerability that's been published. And normally they publish these things after it's been patched. But with all this wild stuff and hallucinatory vulnerabilities, it's really a crapshoot on whether or not what your agent has Googled, with air quotes, is valid. Because I don't know. That's just script kiddies. And then just the agents themselves are fancy Markov chains, which was like a technology that made Google famous, because it was the relationship of who links to who, which other websites link to which websites and what frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Markov chain. They threw that in the entire internet, which was much smaller, and they were able to generate Google with their amazing search engine, right? And now AI is just like a fancier version, and people want to argue in the comments whether or not a neural network with backwards feedback or whatever it's called is truly, to the layperson, yeah, that's what it is, right? Especially when you feed it all of the code that's ever been written. There's something like predisposition that most of everything that's written is good. I don't think so, right? Most of everything that's been written and saved and fed into these monsters is drivel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So why you expect that you're going to get Thomas Pynchon on the other end, right? Or like any hoity-toity name your guy, like really high quality stuff is just a delusion, right?
Yeah.
And so now that's English, this English literature. It goes back to like, I don't know, maybe Beowulf, although that was translated. Who knows? God, who knows? Now, code, which a lot less people can read.
Yeah.
Let alone read and write, and then all of the different languages of code that exist. And granted, it's only been like 100 years or less than that. You think all that's been good? Most of that stuff is just held together with dreams.
Way less to reference, right?
Way less, material. Way worse quality. There's no quality control. There's no like publishers for it, right? It's just code that's out there. Good luck, have fun. A lot of it generated by or for script kiddies, and then the rest of it's just like projects. Who knows if they even worked in the first place? But it went into the info dump, right? And then there's GitHub, but now it's like it's eating its own tail, because I've seen so many open source projects the last year that are, all of the Git commits have emojis. You don't do that normally. Like, I don't know how I'd type an emoji without installing some kind of package to make the hotkeys quicker. And yet they're just cranking out, 40, 50, 100 commits a day. And God knows what is going on in there. And all of these packages are just existing. And I don't know. I just feel like the Luddites, when the machines came in and said, and then the people who own the machines were like, yeah, these are actually better quality fabrics than the Artisans Guild. And the Luddites, the artisans, were like, no, that's actually worse quality, and you're going to price this out, and you won't have access to this anymore. And they're like, no, that won't happen. And now Luddite is painted as like just a naysayer who doesn't like technology for the sake of progress. And that's not at all what it was. And I feel the same about code and reading it and writing it, because it's actually, code is interesting in that it's harder to read code than it is to write, whereas it's always harder to write in your language than it is to read or listen. And so code is interesting in that it's just simpler to do the thing and learn from your mistake than to read some output that a thing in a data center hallucinated for you, right? Like, what are you doing, right?
When you see, okay, so people that use AI to code, right? When you go and look at the AI generated code, how long does it take you to catch the mistakes and correct the mistakes?
It's not that the code has blatant like syntax errors, right? It does run, it compiles, whatever. The code that is being proposed does not fit into the current project at all. Like, we have programming patterns or guidelines, and all this other stuff. And it just doesn't fit that. It's like, I really don't know how to explain it. It's like I always bring back to like machine shops or carpenters, right? You have some kind of shop that is specialized in a thing, and we all know where all the tools go and what kind of stock material we have. And then some guy rolls in and it just just alien stuff. It's just like, we don't do that here. We don't cut like PLA plastic on our table saw because we don't have filters for that. Like, what are you doing bringing that into my wood shop? Like, get out of here. We don't have a miter saw that can cut that angle. Like, what are you doing? And so while it technically works, it doesn't fit into the style of it at all. Okay. Right? Or you know how like was it the Odyssey? Like every different chapter in that was a completely different dialect?
Yes.
That's what it's like. You need to have the guidelines, and you need to show up and take your shoes off at the door and wash your hands before you eat. And if you just have something that doesn't do any of that, how can you expect that to be productive in any sense of the word? Again, the artisans. Nobody's actually trying to learn to do good for the art of it, which is a little sad. But
so learn the code, people. Learn the code.
Learn the standard library, learn to code, learn how to set up an environment. Don't just copy and paste crap, right? You got to learn things. And sometimes it sucks in the beginning. I don't know what any of this crap is. And then you just keep doing it. That's the whole point. So yeah, you're going to be overwhelmed. You don't remember it, but it's pretty overwhelming learning your native language, right?
Yes.
Like that was hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people still don't have a good grasp of it because it's continuous upkeep as well, right? Like it sounds so just obvious to speak, but you have to keep using the things that involve language.
The language, yeah.
Programming languages are I find it difficult to talk about, like during a PR. Like, well, okay, that quote, open quote, semicolon, curly Q, because I call it a curly Q, but some people call it a seagull bracket. And so, like, there's so many different names.
Is there, like in music for pronunciation of different sounds and languages, there's an IPA guide. That everybody follows, international. When you see a certain symbol on a page, that means you say "ch."
Oh yeah, I know IPA.
Okay, so is there something like that for code or
no? No, like there are names for the symbols that we use, but like I said, for the curly bracket, curly Q, there's many different names for it. Or the tilde. Do you know what the tilde is?
No.
So that's kind of a useless name of it, right?
Yes.
If you don't know what tilde is, and like I'm trying to tell you, I was like, oh, okay, if you press shift and you hit the thing right next to the escape key, and it looks like this.
Okay, yeah.
That's the tilde. Like there's no, because then you'd have to translate. Okay, so the IPA is great because that I stands for international.
Yeah. Because
they're using a huge set of symbols that mean exactly one phoneme or utterance,
yes.
right? And you can break that up into syllables. But the linguists were like, no, we need the IPA to document every noise, even the glottal stops, all of it. And they have that. I don't really understand, because the code should speak for itself, right? The code is what's actually mattering.
Right.
Because you can name a variable R, or res, or response, or return code, which is what the thing actually is most of the time. It's return code. But because people are lazy, R works. And that's annoying. That's really annoying. And
this is your next project, Mitchell.
That's my current project. That's what I'm doing. It's like
now you have to write an international.
Oh God.
Standard of code symbol names.
And that's the thing. Everybody's got it differently.
Just as long as one of those is the curly Q.
Yeah, no, the seagull bracket or
seagull bracket.
Whatever it's going to be. I mean, that's just kind of annoying, like getting slivers, that's like, it's way downstream of doing the thing. And doing the thing is like, if you just named your variables right, this wouldn't be so confusing, right? If you use the right data structure, then we wouldn't have to argue about all of this complexity for iterating through a list. Like, come on, we know better. Like, we've been here long enough. That was your intro level course. If you need to go back to basics, do it. I'm not going to fault you for forgetting how to calculate this, that, or the other. Or you forgot that this was in the standard library. Like, dude, I do that all the time because it's something you have to keep using.
Right.
But having an AI, open a PR that has stuff that is not what we're doing here, like that is not idiomatic to what we're trying to use, right? Like somebody in Minnesota using Australian slang.
That's a really good analogy.
It'd be a novelty at first, sure. But if they continuously forced it, and then now you have to remember that arvo means afternoon. Or what do they call a convenience store? They call everything's like they add like NY, NY, so it's a connie, like a convenience store. Okay, whatever. But if suddenly that's in your code base, And every time you have to reach for that function, you're like, oh, Arvo, Connie, I gotta go to the convenience store in the afternoon. And then you hire on a new member and they have to learn the old, what you consider legacy, and then the new.
Yes.
And why would you have such different naming conventions and arguments being passed in and different data structures when they're ostensibly doing the same thing? Right?
It's just more complicated to learn, right?
Well, there's an extra layer now of this extra crap that doesn't really seem to have any reason to exist. It just popped into existence with a wildly different set of word order or rules, or I do this, or my comments look different now for reasons that you can't actually ask anybody about, because if you ask the author, quote, quote, author, he would just ask the agent, quote, quote, agent, why? And there's a famous quote from, I think it was like IBM in the 70s, like a computer can't make like a management decision. So computers shouldn't do that. You should never have them do that. So if you wanted to manage a code base, you can't audit the code, because to it just looks like the rest of its training materials, and the feedback it's going to have probably isn't in line with the whole reason that you're trying to build a product, or historical reasons why, or business reasons why. So why would you even consider using the tool, right?
Yeah.
It's tough. And now I feel like a graybeard, because a lot of young kids, like I'm 37, so I don't feel that old, but when I talk about this kind of stuff, I do. And I know I've read too much sci-fi and how things can go poorly, but I've also interacted with a lot of people who are supposed to maintain this, that, or the other. Like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, for sure, I'll do that. And they don't put oil in the car and the engine explodes. And oh gosh, I thought I did that. I don't want to be a doomer, but a lot of this stuff kind of aligns to you had everything that worked and you chased the shiny new thing. And
then it just got out of control.
Yeah. And now your car is burning in the woods because you just drove it. You put auto drive on and it just drove in there with only, like, what is Tesla? Only using visible light cameras, even though LiDAR and all these other fantastic technologies that actually work through fog or smoke or can detect that a painting of a road is not actually a road. Good God. Why would you build a $100,000 vehicle that you don't have the full ability to determine if it's safe to go forward or not?
Yeah.
And yet. Visible only. I don't know. This is Minnesota. I don't know how you're supposed to drive when the wind picks up. Autopilot.
Well, I do know velocity squared.
Yeah.
All right, back to the basics. Learn your code, people. None of this AI coding anymore until you know what you're doing.
Like, if you're going to do it, just practice responsibly.
Practice responsibly.
Don't have it generate an entire imaginary framework and then try to ask Google for questions about the thing that it just did. It doesn't know about current events. It doesn't know about what happened yesterday. And it's just going to hallucinate to make you happy.
It's a good take. Mitchell knows. Thanks, Mitchell.
Yeah.